Boom. Okay, let's just give it a few minutes for some people to trickle in. There we go. How's everyone's morning? Well, it's afternoon now, but how was the morning?
Good. I hung out with toys all day, so
I know. I could tell.
Right?
That awesome background behind you.
I know. I'm gonna play in here all day.
Welcome, everyone. I see people are joining. Welcome.
Whoa, you could see people joining in.
I just saw the view count kind of ticking up a little bit.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh,
hi, Mark.
Shimmy 1001.
Welcome. Okay, let's start with some introductions. Let's get going. Welcome, everyone. We're back on our third day of Force Fiesta. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you have enjoyed the past 2 days. I know I have. I've been tuning into all the different panels, and it's been exciting getting to see all the different points of views on all the different topics. So today, what we're going to be talking about is Clone Wars and Rebels. So we'll see how everyone feels about these. Yeah. Let's start with some introductions. Again, for those of you who don't know, my name is Jorge. I also go by Toys R Us Kid. I am 1/5 of the Average Nerd podcast. We also have another member here from the Average Nerd podcast, and I'm going to send it off to him. Dave.
Oh, hello. This is Ahsoka, but I'm Dave, the Dork Knight. And yes, I am also 1/5 of the Average Nerds.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. And we also have Parm, or James. How's it going, James?
Hey, everybody. This is James, a.k.a. Parm from the Hardly Heroes podcast.
Welcome. Before I continue on, we are getting a Jedi raid.
Raid.
Jedi scum.
Jedi poodoo.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks, Jedi, for the raid. I hope your stream went well. I'm sorry I couldn't tune in. We were prepping for this, but I know that Jedi was building a Lego set on his stream, and that was his first stream. I hope it went well.
Yeah.
Cool. What was he building?
What were you building, Jedi? If you don't mind. I know you were building a Lego set. I just don't remember which one. But thank you for the raid.
The first day streaming.
Oh, Yoda's hut.
A whole new
Yoda's
world.
hut. Nice. And we also are joined by a few other special guests. We also have Tim. How's it going, Tim?
Hey, I'm good. I'm Tim, just a friend of the pod and fan of these cartoons.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And we also have Trevor. What's up, Trevor?
Hey, this is Trevor, aka Mac TDS of the Secondary Heroes, and it's always fun talking about Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah. This is gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to this because I feel like in the, I'd say, diehard Star Wars community, Clone Wars and Rebels don't always get the spotlight, and so I kind of want to dive into that, into why we enjoy it and why we think it deserves a little bit more of some shine. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dive into this right away.
Also, we're gonna be breaking this session up into two segments. So one's a spoiler-free segment, so we'll do our best to try to not spoil the shows, and then we'll go into some spoiler stuff.
Yeah, we'll let you know when spoilers happen.
Yeah,
We're gonna do our best in this first segment, like they said, to just give an overview of how we feel about it. We'll give you that warning, and then we're gonna start diving into all the spoilers. Because I know Jedi hasn't finished it yet, so we'll be sure to alert you, Jedi, and anyone else who hasn't watched it yet. Cool. Okay, so let's go into our first topic for today. How do both series fit into the Star Wars universe, and what did you enjoy most about how it fit in? Let's start with Dave.
So let's see. So Clone Wars takes place in between Star Wars Episode 2 and 3, between the Attack of the Clones. So when they're commissioned to create the clone army, and then right before Order 66. So that's Clone Wars takes place, basically is the meat meat and bones in between those two movies. Yeah.
And I think it's a 3-year time span that the entire show takes place.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
Mm-hmm. 3 years for Clone Wars. What about Rebels?
Well, Rebels takes place after episode 3, and so it's like in between 3 and 4. So I don't know how long that takes place, but it was 4 seasons total.
Yeah,
but I do have some fun stats because I like to get a little, nerdy. On this. But like, so Clone Wars, you're asking like, why is this important to the overall Star Wars experience? Especially being like, most people are familiar with the movies. Maybe they're adults now and they don't get into the cartoons or animated stuff. But like, Clone Wars is the most amount of Star Wars there is over the movies, over anything else. It's 7 seasons?
Oh yeah,
133 episodes that are 22 minutes long, and I did the math. It is over 48 hours worth of Star Wars.
Wow!
Think about that. Each there's been 9 movies.
12 it's only 18 hours plus like whatever extra.
Yeah, like
I didn't quantify it that way.
So if you think about it that way, that's the most amount of Star Wars we've ever had. And if you think about it, if you love like a character, say like Obi-Wan, right? And Ewan McGregor's your jam, or it's Sir Alec Guinness. The Clone Wars version has the most amount of Obi-Wan over all the movies. And that's what I like is that it. Sorry, Dave. Let me dive into like it. Okay. You get to dig a little bit deeper into each of these characters. I'll let you jump back to it, but that's my thing. Sorry, stat guy. I got statted.
No, that's okay.
Actually,
feel free to tune in. Yeah, if you've got.
I've never really like looked at it that way. So, interesting point.
I think for any diehard, or I guess any level of a Star Wars fan, if you're craving for more Star Wars content, going to Clone Wars and to Rebels is a great place because you've got like what the title is the storytelling. You've got excellent storytelling in both of those. Structured differently, you got like the little individual story arcs that you can kind of jump in at any point in Clone Wars, and in Rebels it's more of a linear. We were talking about this earlier. It's more of a linear story, so you kind of want to watch that one from beginning to end. I would suggest the same thing with Clone Wars, but you can dive into certain stories if you want to see certain things. Also, yesterday on one of the panels of Did Disney Save Star Wars, they were talking about how the movies themselves are kind of just like in this bubble. I think Scott was mentioning it from STS guys. They were talking about how it was like in this bubble. And outside of this bubble, you get this whole expanded universe that you know nothing about, that they could just keep going for days, writing all this content about. Rebels and Clone Wars starts to do that. You get to see how expanded this universe is. You get to see a little bit more into how other galaxies, other planets, other races, all of that, and you get a taste of all this different information.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of went on a little tangent there.
That's good. For going back to like when like maybe Rebels takes place, maybe Trevor or Tim could tackle that one.
Yeah, go for it, Tim. If you have anything,
I'm definitely more so into the Clone Wars than I am Rebels, but something I appreciated about Rebels would be that this was like all brand new characters mostly that they brought into the universe, because Clone Wars was mostly about existing characters that we already know and love, like Anakin and Obi-Wan and stuff, and going into that, introducing Ahsoka, of course, but it's mostly people we already know. So Rebels was kind of cool in that it was like this new universe, but at the same time, I think that they really captured a lot of that magic that existed from the original trilogy, that it really like felt like being back in that world for fans of the OG trilogy. So so that was really fun. And also a lot of the biggest moments of that series would be cameos that happen from certain people, but yeah, no spoilers, right?
That's a great point of view, because I was thinking the exact same thing, and I was listening to one of the other panels yesterday, like Star Wars is for everybody, and that was one of those things they said. It's like you can respect Star Wars for what it is in the movies, but like don't make fun of anybody else that likes other pieces or that wants to dive deeper. Star Wars is for everybody, and the way I look at Clone Wars compared to the to the regular movie universe is like it's like an onion, right? Like you can peel back layers of the story and get as much as you want. If you only want 2 hours worth of like Star Wars and watch the movies, that's cool. But if you want another 48 hours worth of Anakin and Obi-Wan, you could do that. You know, it's that's what I love about it.
Awesome. Thank you. Trevor, do you have anything to add to that too?
Just the idea, the one thing, the kind of the caveat is that some people are out just because they're animated, like, oh, I didn't like the art style, or I don't want to watch kids cartoons. And people need to get over that stigma to it, because it's like kind of what Pixar does. Pixar movies aren't really kids movies. There's a lot of adult tones going on. And Clone Wars and Rebels, it might take them a season or two where it's kind of like there's some like weird episodes and kind of like goofy topics, but once they get rolling and they find their voice, they are deeper storytelling than even the Star Wars main films. So you just got to stick with them and give them the chance. And it talks about kind of individualism, what it means to be in this universe, and just what it means to be a person, and are those distinguishing factors, and how you define nurture versus nature. And it's all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't expect from, a kid's show.
Would you say this? Would you say what a lot of Star Wars fans are looking for, or what they looked for in episodes 7, 8, and 9? Would you say that you have a better chance of finding that Star Wars magic in Clone Wars, Rebels, and Mandalorian?
Personally, I would, just because that it seems like Clone Wars and Rebels in particular, Mandalorian's doing a good job too, is kind of weaving in the expanded universe, all the stuff they kind of retconned with the books. Those shows are like, we have the time to do it. That's kind of the main thing. When JJ is trying to make a movie that Disney's telling him we want to capture the magic of A New Hope, and he does that for him, he doesn't have time to talk about all the different force techniques that you could potentially use.
Truth. Awesome.
I agree. I completely agree with Trevor. It gives you so much more. And we talked about it on yesterday's panel, where it's like that little bit of this is an homage to Ralph and Corey's original concept artwork. And that's what like Clone Wars and Rebels, Rebels is like this love letter to Ralph and Corey's artwork. And part of it, like they specifically do that so it feels like episode 4, and you get that weird scapes and the characters that look odd, but they feel very Star Wars.
Yes. I agree with that as well. Yeah.
Really, the biggest thing for me, just the Clone Wars period was always intriguing. That's why George Lucas wanted to make the prequels, and the prequels didn't have enough time to do it. And so you can't rush somebody going and turning to the dark side the way Anakin does. You can't do it in 6 hours. It doesn't, especially when you're trying to tell other stories of other characters. So to have the Clone Wars and really show Anakin's descent and the level that he reaches before that descent, to show what promise he had as a Jedi, it makes it actually tragic. Like, I never felt the tragedy in Rise of the Sith or Revenge of the Sith. I never felt like, oh my God, he became Darth Vader. It never made that connection. But when you see this Anakin actually have those tendencies, and there's even episodes where it ends and he does something that's kind of sinister or evil, and it just plays a few notes of Imperial March, you feel it and sense it.
Exactly. That's kind of what I tell a lot of like my friends that haven't that are Star Wars fans but haven't given Clone Wars a chance, is that in episode 3 you feel that weight and you feel that punch in the gut that like Anakin gives to Obi-Wan, because then really you see that brotherhood between them, and you really see like Anakin's like hero potential, like in him training Ahsoka and everything, and just being a good general for the but yeah, definitely you could feel that weight there.
I noticed too, I mean, if there's anyone in the chat that has any other questions or any other, if you're more curious about the show, please feel free to send them. Any one of you actually, could you give just a brief summary of what Clone Wars is, without spoiling obviously the story, but what's going on during Clone Wars? What's happening during those seasons? Anyone can tackle it too, whoever wants to.
Why don't we all just dive in and help each other out? So really, it's the Galactic Republic, right, versus the Separatists. That's the whole tension back and forth between the two. People are trying to I guess, or planets are trying to separate from the Galactic Republic, and it's I don't know, a fight for the various planets. That's why they go to all these different planets to battle about who's getting what resources and whatnot. And it's not really a spoiler, but like really, if you've watched the movies, it's Palpatine, it's Sidious pulling all the strings from every direction to weaken the Galactic Republic enough to take over.
Yeah, I think something about Clone Wars. I think that's interesting. Clone Wars, the cartoon, is that we, the fans of Star Wars, live in a universe where we've seen Episode 2 and Episode 3. We know how this is going to end, so the adventure really is like the journey of how we get to that ending. Like, in terms of like spoilers, it's like it's already kind of spoiled for us, but they made this show with the knowledge that like we're on a journey together to how we get to Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and how everything goes down. So I thought that was really interesting about that show.
I'm usually bored by that kind of stuff. Like Titanic, I never cared to watch because the boat sinks. So it's the same. Like they're making the Black Widow movie, and I'm like, well, we know what happens with Black Widow. I don't really care. And so you think with Clone Wars, I know Anakin becomes Darth Vader, and that was kind of the hesitation of the prequels. But the Clone Wars somehow makes it intriguing for their 48 hours of content.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one thing that has always I think maybe scared people away about the cartoon is that it brings a whole like political and a political side to it. So one thing I really enjoy is seeing more of Padme Amidala in the Clone Wars, because like you get to see like her diplomatic skills, and she's not just a love interest for Anakin like how they have her in the movie and everything, but yeah, you really get to see like her wit and like she's able to like take care of herself or put herself in situations of trying to like make peace with the separatists several times, but then there's always something, because then like Palpatine is the one, like what James mentioned, Palpatine's like pulling the strings here. So yeah, it's just interesting to see like that whole side of it too, the whole political side.
I think we also get a different side of Anakin, right? Because now in the show, what wasn't shown before in any of the movies, I don't know if this was in any books or anything like that. I haven't read the books. But in the show, Anakin takes on his own Padawan, which is Ahsoka. And so we're introduced to that whole new dynamic of him being a master to Ahsoka being the Padawan. And their relationship building across 7 seasons, their experiences together, even with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's also, of course, a big part of that. And for me, and I've talked to Dave about this before, for me, that just makes episode 3, mean that much more when you see all this backstory and all of these missions that they've gone on together, the relationship that's been built. And then when you see what happens between Anakin and Obi-Wan at the end of the movie, it kind of burns a little bit more, because you've gotten a lot more of this backstory to that. And so that's a huge thing that I appreciate. I mean, there's all the politics and there's all those different aspects, but one thing that I really appreciate is that relationship development that you don't get from just the 2 movies.
Even just Clone Wars being able to introduce Ahsoka and flesh out her entire character, and then you also introduce Ventress and her as a whole different villain, and then you bring Darth Maul back, and they did all 3 of those things, and they're all super key storylines, and they just weave it in, even though it's only like a 3-year period in between these 2 movies. They somehow weave all these compelling things together.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite part of Clone Wars has been Ahsoka's journey. Because we originally see her in the Clone Wars movie, the animated movie, where she's just this little, pre-teen kid that happens to have force powers, and next thing, she's thrown in with Anakin. But then, like what you said, Jorge, you see their dynamic, but you see her growth as a Jedi and everything she's learning in the war, but also her doubts that starts to come up with the Jedi, with the war. And it's like, you get to follow that as a fan, and almost she's seeing things through the fans' eyes and being like, why are we doing this? Why is it just a black and white with the Jedi and the Sith and the Separatists and the Republic. You get to see her question all that and how it unfolds. And I will say this, hot take, she's probably the most important female character in all of Star Wars.
She's my favorite.
Right. Boom. There you
go. Speaking of the doubt and the not so black and white and the areas of gray, something that I was wanting to like bring up, and maybe it's kind of a stretch to the cartoons, but Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi and what he was trying to do before it kind of took a left turn at the end. I wonder how you guys feel about that film, The Last Jedi, because I like that one for the same reasons I like Clone Wars, which is those areas of gray, that depth, and how it's not so black and white.
Not only that, Clone Wars kind of ties into what Last Jedi was doing. We talked about it yesterday, of just to make the Force accessible to everyone. Like there's a whole sequence in Clone Wars where they go to all these different planets and try to find these Force users. You know, they're recruiting them actively for the Jedi, and then the Emperor wants them also killed at the same time. But it shows how anyone can be a Force user. You don't have to be a Skywalker. You don't have to be, you know, somehow connected to somebody in the past. It can just pop up with anyone.
Yeah, and to add on to that, for Rebels, it's I really like that they didn't have any Jedi Masters to be teaching like the ways of the Force, because Rebels takes place after Order 66, and you have Kanan trying to teach Ezra, who is also Force sensitive, on how
Kanan's only ever a knight.
Yeah, he never. Yeah, exactly. And but then even to expand on that too, like in the world of Rebels, they even introduce like I guess gray areas of the Force, like, and even creatures that are Force wielding, like the Bendu or the Lothal wolves and everything. So yeah,
Bendu gets into a whole, like Rebels really gets into the lore and mythos of what the Force and all of what brings Star Wars meaning. Like it really is not just a Sith and Jedi thing that the movies tell us. That's what Rebels does.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like teeter-tottering. I'm so close to saying things that are spoilers. Are you guys about ready to jump into some spoiler warnings?
Well,
one other thing
sure,
I wanted to mention is that if you haven't watched Clone Wars, and like there's a sequence in Empire Strikes or in Return of the Jedi where Luke says, "I built my lightsaber," and Darth Vader's like, "Oh, this is a well-made lightsaber." And people are like, "What? When did he go to lightsaber building school? When was even time between Empire and Return of the Jedi?" And so there's a whole sequence where Ahsoka learns to do it.
Was
Disneyland open?
Yeah. Yeah, Ahsoka gets to learn the kyber crystal making, and she goes through that whole training sequence where Yoda drops him off on that planet. And it's just more kind of in-depth ways to tell you things that the movies don't have time to. Even like the most vaunted, or, you know, the original trilogy is up on a pedestal, but it still has plot holes. And so to have Clone Wars and Rebels tell you and kind of fill those plot holes in, because hardly anyone ever read the Expanded Universe books or the comics. You can say, "Oh, they talked about it here." Well, those are retconned, and hardly anyone reads to even know those things. So to have like a visual, quick action depiction of it, why learn more about Star Wars? That's what Clone Wars will do.
Yeah. And before we jump to Rebels, I will say, you know, part of Clone Wars, my other favorite part of Clone Wars is the Night Sisters, and seeing that other side of or not even the other side, a completely new view of the Force. And just like what Dave, you were saying about the Bendu and the gray, you know, Force users, you know, the Night Sisters were completely different, and it was more like magic and you know, witches using the Force in completely different ways with sacrifices and whatnot. Like it completely blew my mind. I'm like, we could do this. And then on top of that, they bring in, you know, they find ways to, I can't say Darth Maul's in the show, you know, but they find a way to talk about that. And okay, I'm going to stop. I'll wait for the spoilers.
Hey, for those that seen Solo, we all know that Maul survived.
Yeah. So. Crimson Dawn.
Another thing I want to say too before we jump into spoilers is, I'll just say this: if you're going through the journey of Clone Wars, just know that the very last tidbit of Clone Wars, the very last 4 episodes of season 7, this is my opinion. Those last 4 episodes are probably one of my favorite modern time depiction of anything Star Wars, anything from the comic books, from any of the newer shows, from any of the other seasons, from any of the newer movies. Those 4 episodes are right up there with me, right up there for me.
Yeah,
I'd say that journey is totally worth it to even just make it to those last 4 episodes. I thought that it was magnificently done.
Oh, Tim, do you want to add to that too?
Well, I just do want to say, if anybody's on the fence, you can watch Clone Wars out of order. You can't do that with Rebels. Yeah. You're really not going to get spoiled because you know that Anakin's going to become Darth Vader. You're not going to be like, oh my God, he's Darth Vader. So watch any sequence of Clone Wars. You're not going to be really spoiled within it. Like, oh, season 4, episodes 4 through 8 are awesome. Go watch that run and then go back. You don't have to go like season 1 and kind of slog through it to get to the amazing storytelling.
Tim, did you have something to add to that too?
Yeah, I guess something I would say in like promotion of these shows is creator Dave Filoni just being one of the biggest fans of Star Wars and making these out of love for these for this world. So anyone who's a fan of the films that has not yet seen these cartoons can be rest assured that he took care to keep everything in mind when he was making these new worlds and these new stories. Yeah, you're really missing out if you haven't seen these yet.
I was gonna say that's a really good point. Like if you love the core of Star Wars, if you love Mandalorian, know that you're in good hands because Filoni did Mandalorian, but he also did Clone Wars and Rebels and Resistance. But if think about it this way,
and Avatar,
Avatar, yeah.
If you want an easy like entry into the Clone Wars, and if it's going to be your jam or not, like go find the Darksaber episodes from Clone Wars, and that'll give you some backstory of what's happening in Mandalorian, and that may give you that spark to watch more Clone Wars and dive a little deeper.
Even if you are a fan of, if you're a fan of Mandalorian, like we barely get his particular creed. Like, you know, he has this particular faction, but Rebels actually goes to the planet Mandalore and talks about their entire lore of thousands of years and how they have the different houses, and it's almost like a Game of Thrones type world on Mandalore. And that's when you get the Darksaber, and so it means more when Gideon actually reveals it in Mandalorian. So yeah, it definitely hand in hand there.
I don't know if Jen and Bentley are still in the chat, but I actually wanted to launch our giveaway before they leave. Okay. If they left, could somebody go grab them? Because I do want them to have a fair chance too. I didn't want them to leave and then it's like, all right, now we're doing a giveaway. Let me just throw that giveaway in real quick. In light of today's episode, I think it's only best or only fitting that we do something that's directly related to what we're talking about. But
what?
Glow Soka.
Glow Soka.
Glow Soka. This right here. This was a LA Comic-Con exclusive, I believe, from 2018.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, glow in the dark Ahsoka. Right here.
A Gloka?
A Gloka. A Gloka. Yeah, with the A in the front. I like that. That's better. A Gloka.
So can guess what do I need to enter in? Can I get in on this?
I mean, if you know somebody that's in the chat, they can enter for you. Yeah, and send somebody a message real quick. I'll actually have this. Usually we do 3-minute giveaways. What I'll do for this one is I'll do like a 25-minute like entry time. So from now until 25 minutes from now, anyone can enter. If you want to shoot someone a message, tell them to jump in.
Put in the stickers too.
Oh, thank you, Trevor. Yeah, let's throw a sticker in there. So shout out to Dave for the awesome designs on these, but we've been doing stickers. Yeah, there you go. Ahsoka, yeah. That's the Ahsoka version, and this right here is the Boba. You can see it.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, so we'll do a set of those as well.
Rex.
There's Rex.
Boba.
Boba.
The wrong way. Maul.
Mm-hmm.
X-Wing,
yep.
And
Ahsoka.
Mando. Armando.
So you get all 6.
Yeah, you'll get a set.
I'm gonna need a new hydro flask just for all these stickers.
Yeah, right. Okay. Sorry, I got to get this giveaway set up real quick. If you guys want to chat amongst yourselves for a quick second while I get this set up. Go for it.
Rollin is hawking those stickers off Jorge.
What?
Hit me up.
Oh my!
I'm selling some.
Rollin giving me a bad look.
So while Jorge's doing that, do you guys have any favorite arcs that you can throw out about Clone Wars?
I guess I could share. I kind of wrote one something in my notes that kind of avoids spoilers or treads around them, tiptoes. But yeah, it's basically the arc when one of the main characters is kind of framed for a certain bombing, and just that whole arc of her working, that person working with working with like other characters you wouldn't think that person would work with, and just that character getting a whole new perspective on everything. Like it opens her eyes like to like all of her stuff. So everything.
Funny because Larry and Scott both brought up what if they did like a Law and Order type of Star Wars universe, and that episode run. At least it's in the courtroom.
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm all set up for this giveaway. So a little different from our other giveaways. This is going to be a 25-minute giveaway. If you guys know anyone that's interested in entering the giveaway, you can go ahead and send them this direction. 25 minutes on the clock. All you have to do is enter once. Your keyword is going to be !Rebels, REBELS, Rebels. And the giveaway starts now.
I guess before we get into spoilers, did you guys want to also share any favorite arcs? I know there's also the mention of Ponkrell and everything, but I don't know.
Well, we can talk about the Mortis arc.
But, yes.
I mean, it's really hard not to spoil.
Do we want to wait to talk about the arcs until we officially say spoiler?
Yeah, because that's a big one.
How about we say this? Because there's so much time with Clone Wars, it's really cool to see these characters go through arcs and change their view of things, so they're not one-dimensional, let alone stay who they, you think they are. They start changing and morphing, and you see people, or you see characters like Ahsoka or Anakin or Asajj Ventress in completely different ways. So
it's funny, some of the things, it's like the Walking Dead or any Telltale games where it says so and so will remember this. You see inflection points in Clone Wars where like, yep, that's gonna change their character.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Clone Wars also has those fun intros. Those like propaganda type of like recap videos.
Oh yeah,
those
right.
are awesome.
those are very well done. Actually, you just reminded me of something. Going back to Filoni, I think if George Lucas was to hand off the torch to anyone, I definitely think it would be him. He would be the right one.
The Kevin Feige of Star Wars.
I think so. I totally think so.
He kind of is already.
Yeah.
They need to give him more oversight on the movies.
Is Kathleen Kennedy? Is she
Kathleen Kennedy?
Yeah.
But I mean, Favreau is right there too. He kind of threw his name into the hat, and
I think Kathleen Kennedy figured it out once she failed with Solo and all that stuff. I think she's like, okay, I need to bring somebody else in. And I think she's given more control to Filoni and even Jon Favreau, because Jon Favreau, he'll be open to a lot of stuff. He's not set in his ways or like, oh, I need this because of the past.
Right.
You actually get a little bit more of an insight to Filoni and his journey through Clone Wars and Rebels. If any of you have seen the documentary on The Mandalorian, which is on Disney Plus, I forget what it's called, but it's basically a breakdown of the whole process of how The Mandalorian was made. The first episode is on directors. They had like 7 directors on set, one of them obviously being Filoni. And he tells a story of how he got the job for Clone Wars and then Rebels. I guess he had gotten a phone call. At the time, he was working on The Last Airbender. He was working on Avatar. And I guess they used to play pranks on each other. He would get pranked on from the SpongeBob guys. And so he received a phone call saying, hey, are you Filoni? George Lucas recommended you and is interested in hiring you to take on this Clone Wars project. He got a phone call from, I think, Lucas Animation. That's the studio that did it, right? And he thought it was a joke. So the whole time he's like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, I'll show up, and kind of joking sarcastically. And then finally, I think halfway into the conversation, he realizes this is the real deal, and so he starts to panic. And she's like, "You're Filoni, right? You're the one working on the last Airbender." And he's like, "I am the guy. You have no idea how much the guy I am." And he just starts geeking out because this is probably a dream come true for him. I think hiring somebody that's passionate about the industry and about the movies and this fandom was one of the smartest moves they could have done in hiring Filoni.
Yeah.
So check that out. That's
It's
also
called,
a very good documentary.
Disney Gallery.
Disney Gallery. Yes.
I think
yes,
one thing I enjoyed about that is Filoni kind of giving his take on Phantom Menace and why fans shouldn't like dig at it so much.
Filoni, he'll fall on that cross, that George Lucas cross, that George Lucas, nothing he can do. He's infallible. So Filoni has that. That's his only drawback for me. But yeah, no, I know he defended Phantom Menace like he made it himself.
Yeah.
His explanation of the prequels made me respect the prequels. You know, everybody's allowed to have their own opinion.
I love the overarching tones. The prequels get bogged down in the details.
Yeah. Yeah, but the way Filoni described the prequels, I really respected the prequels more.
Agreed.
And again, going back to Filoni, just because we're all Filoni fanboys, is that like the way he's found to make all fans happy, right? He's creating these incredible story arcs, but also respecting what the fans loved from, say, the expanded universe, and marrying it into, what are we calling this? The Disney Star Wars
mainstream universe. Yeah.
So it's really cool the way he's finding ways to make this all work for everybody.
It's a big challenge too, because the Star Wars fandom is so splintered.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
Do you want to spoil stuff?
I was gonna say, if you're ready, if the four of you are ready, this is gonna be the fair warning. Going from this point on, there's gonna be leaks and spoilers. So if you haven't watched it and you don't want to be spoiled, I would recommend, it's okay if you duck out. If you don't mind the spoilers, please stick around. I think you'll still find it interesting, and hopefully will spark even more of an interest, because there's a lot of stuff that we want to talk about that make it so great in the story writing. So
I'd say for the giveaway too, maybe just keep a separate tab open, and then should we just run the winner at the very end?
Yeah, well, it's a 25-minute clock, so the winner will be at 2:55-ish.
We'll stop the spoilers by the time we announce the winner.
Yeah. So, and even if it's somebody that stepped away, we'll honor it. We'll reach out to them. So
cool.
Are you ready? Spoilers. Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, Maul comes back.
There it is.
Spider Maul.
Without the Phantom Menace, we wouldn't have Maul.
Yeah.
Right. We wouldn't have Maul, and I feel like he was such a huge part. I mean, obviously, with the last 4 episodes, that battle between Maul and Ahsoka, and the writing of all of that was just beautifully done.
Maul's understanding of the bigger picture.
Yes.
Ahsoka is super laser focused on whatever she's doing, no matter what it is, and Maul can see the bigger players at play.
I would say that even like getting into Rebels, of like when he died, and how Obi-Wan, like when he encountered Obi-Wan and everything, again, spoilers, is just like his understanding, and like being that in tune with the Force, understanding, okay, you're Obi-Wan, you're here because you're protecting something because then at that point in Rebels, he wanted to get back at the Sith. So he understood that Obi-Wan was doing something to get back at them. So he was okay with it, and he was okay with his death. So yeah.
Speaking of Maul and villains, I want to ask this question because there's a lot. So who is your favorite hero and who is your favorite villain from Clone Wars? Let's start with Clone Wars. Who's your favorite hero and who's your favorite villain?
Yeah. While we're still on Maul, I was gonna say that Maul is my favorite villain from Clone Wars. Although I did want to say that I felt the way that they brought him back, and he's fueled by hate, and that's the way he stays alive. I thought that was kind of a stretch, and I don't know about all that, but I do think it was a great decision to have him in, and he became like a really great villain. I appreciated how he was very flexible throughout Clone Wars and even Rebels in how he was just able to roll with like, okay, I'm gonna do this with Palpatine, I'm gonna do this with who else was it? Like just the underground crime syndicates and
Crimson Dawn.
the what's the rebel or the Mandalorian group, Death Watch.
Death Watch, yes.
He could just like figure out how to make things work with that, but at the same time, despite that flexibility, he's also very rigid in that he just really wants to get Kenobi, get that revenge. he's just stuck on that, can't get off it.
I think Maul is one of my favorite villains too, and that the reintroduction of him was a little bit of a stretch, like what you're saying, Tim, but his journey, like his mental journey, like from going crazy and all that stuff and just be so filled with hate, and then going into, all right, I cleared my head, this is what's happening, like what you're saying, this is what's happening in the greater universe, I see it all coming together, I see what my master has put together, and he's the only one that puts it all together. No Jedi does, not even Yoda, but he does, and it's interesting.
How about you, Dave?
Oh, I know. Just speaking to that point, I believe it was Maul, right, that first told Ahsoka that Anakin would turn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he was the one that had the vision first. So
and Ahsoka couldn't believe it. Like no one for some reason could believe it at all, because they actually set up an Anakin where it's unbelievable for it to happen. He's not whining and crying all the time, and you see, oh yeah, this whiny kid is gonna end up having hate fill his heart.
Yeah,
and definitely, like I would say just the whole. We're introduced to the Crimson Dawn in Solo, but then you kind of get a sneak peek of him building his own empire in Clone Wars. Just gathering a whole bunch of different crime syndicates or building his own crime syndicate, and then even like what's this called? Even to a point where Palpatine all of a sudden notices, okay, Maul's gonna be a threat. I need to take him out.
Yeah.
So and then you get that episode or that battle between Maul and Palpatine again.
Yeah, where Palpatine just gets rid of him like he's a
How about you, Trevor? Any favorites?
I mean, everyone said Maul, but of course, hero Ahsoka. I mean, Ahsoka's probably my favorite Star Wars character right now.
Yes.
And so I was thinking the way they depict Count Dooku is pretty interesting, where he's kind of like not evil. He's almost like chummy with him at certain points, and he respects like what they're trying to do. It's kind of interesting. And then General Grievous always having the conversation with Obi-Wan, and then in the movie, they're like, we've never met before. That juxtaposition where they've encountered him like 50 times or whatever, that's always fun.
My honorable mention. Sorry, Dave, were you gonna?
Oh no, please go ahead.
I was gonna say, Asajj Ventress is a favorite of mine too. And if you like Ahsoka, you kind of respect Asajj Ventress because she's kind of going through the same, Padawan apprentice into some sort of hybrid of a Sith, but then questioning her beliefs as well and finding her own path. She's like the dark side of the coin that is Ahsoka. So it's really interesting to see how they kind of juxtapose each other, but also are so similar.
I love that analogy, the dark side of the coin too.
Because she was just cast aside, like, okay, Palpatine just gives an order to Dooku. It was like, your apprentice might be a threat, so go kill her. So, and then I just love that she kind of finds her way becoming a mercenary or navigating, like the way that she navigates like her or her journey, like after after that. I really like it.
I just realized there's no Ventress pop.
What? Yeah, there isn't.
Not yet.
Come on, Brian.
Jorge, what do you know? You got the inside scoop? I'm always bugging Av. Like, give me the inside scoop. What do you know?
Oh, yeah. I wish I knew. That would be awesome to know that secret. But hopefully we get it one day. Well, I think one thing I don't mean to sidetrack too much, but one thing with Funko that I like to say is if a character hasn't been made, it's usually a matter of time. That's how I see it, especially with something like Star Wars. I mean, you can only do
They
certain
canceled
characters.
so many rebel waves. Like they had that whole secondary wave they canceled.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm hopefully wishing that we'll get.
Yeah,
so we'll see. We'll see. I kind of want to jump ahead here because there's a major concept that they tackle in Rebels that I want to know your guys' opinion on it. So we talk about all these different aspects of the Force and all these different abilities that are introduced, right? I'm jumping way to the end of Rebels here because to me that was like
with
a huge
Ezra?
with
like
Ezra. Yeah, all of that, right? With the whole
world between
finale.
worlds.
Yeah, I mean, you get the reason why Ahsoka is actually going to be in Mandalorian, right? That the reason Ahsoka is going to be in Mandalorian, the reason she exists is because of the finale of Rebels. Right? Ahsoka was essentially going to die at the hands of Vader. I'm really going into spoilers here. Ahsoka was essentially going to die at the hand of Vader. Finally, after their meet and their big battle. But Ezra was able to pull her out and into the future. Thus, she is now able to exist in the universe still. Do you guys have any opinions? What is your take on that? Do you like that? Did you think that was kind of a weird, like you're just introducing too much now? Yeah, the time travel thing.
The whole do ex machina.
Yeah, what's your take on that? I enjoy it because I like Ahsoka and I want to see a live depiction of Ahsoka, which we're going to get from Rosario Dawson, and I'm excited for that. But what's your take on that? Dave, would you like to start?
Let's have Tim start.
Tim, please, yes.
I completely forgot about that whole arc from Rebels and how that all went down. But in general, I think I agree with who is it? Like Dan Harmon in terms of like Rick and Morty and how they like kind of avoid all the time travel stuff. But yeah, at the same time, I'm kind of torn because I do like Ahsoka and want to see more of her. But just from a storytelling standpoint, I'm not the biggest fan of the time travel reversing stuff.
It is it's a weird topic to.
I think it works just because they set up how it could. Once you ground your time travel in your universe, it works. Like you can't just be like, "This is time travel." Like they literally had to go to that special astral plane that only Ezra could activate.
Yeah, I would say like what Trevor was saying. Like it's grounded because Ezra was tempted to. He saw another window in that world between worlds where he could have saved Kanan. But then Ahsoka like pulled him back and was like, yeah. But it's just funny how like he saved her and then but yeah, basically I think it's grounded. And I thought it was interesting that they brought that whole aspect of the Force because there's like a lot of things that we're still learning about the Force, especially like in Rise of the Skywalker, they introduced healing and everything. But yeah, this whole time travel thing, and it's interesting that Palpatine was the one trying to go after this or hone that whole world between worlds and stuff.
I think the first healing was the child. They introduced it in that episode right before the movie released.
Yeah.
Right? The child did it first in Mandalorian, and then so I remember when the movie came out, everyone was saying, "Well, just watch that episode because that's a concept that they're going to throw into the movie."
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like a week later, they did it in the movie.
Yeah. Did anyone else not go? Go ahead, Parm, James.
I kind of agree with everybody. I thought Trevor was gonna tear it apart, but the way you it, I really liked. I really like that. I'm a sucker for Star Wars and things, you know, like so that I was totally okay with it. And it made me think a little bit deeper, like that there's more out there than what we know of the Force, and showing that Palpatine is, you know, edging Ezra to go after that, and like you lure Ezra into something like that to so Palpatine can get that power, or Sidious can get that power, is what makes Sidious even more sinister and conniving. Is like he knows there's more out there. He knows that there's more, and he's using all these different people to try to get what he wants and live forever, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Do we want to talk about the Mortis arc just because it's so
yeah, go for it, Trevor. Yeah.
So season 3 episodes 15 through 17, you don't need to watch like if you watch that part of Clone Wars, you would have a big understanding of the Force, because it essentially, like, the Phantom Menace's worst point is that there's midichlorians. It like reduces magic into a formula. Magic isn't a formula; it's not math based. And so this goes and tries to tell you that there's an overarching structure to the entire universe between two conflicting forces. And then Anakin also, you see how powerful and potential he is, because he can tie in and kind of almost a conduit to these powerful forces. But then we also get Dark Ahsoka, and she gets to see her future potential. And then Anakin gets to see a vision of his future also at the same time. And we know Anakin's future. We know how dark it is, and that he doesn't remember it. So we get to see the audience. The audience already knows what's going to happen. Anakin's introduced to the idea of it, but then he doesn't remember it. It's a funny kind of tragic inclusion of knowledge.
So do you think if he remembered it, and even the little detail of Ahsoka not being there around the time that Anakin really crossed over to the dark side, obviously that's never going to happen. This alternative universe where Anakin stays on the light side, that's not going to happen. But do you think those minute details would have made the difference to stop Anakin from crossing over to the dark side? Whether Ahsoka was still there, right? Because she was doing her own thing. She was separate from Anakin. Also, him remembering that vision of what he was going to become.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about fate, where movies like to do this a lot. If you know what's going to happen, you try to make decisions to avoid that happening, but those are the decisions that cause that inevitability. So it's they could have dived into that whole thing. Like, that's the tough challenge of having movies already, or the movies already exist and stories already exist. But yeah,
I think.
But I think Ahsoka, like even season 5, where Ahsoka's pushed away, if that doesn't happen, I don't think Anakin turns.
I agree. I agree.
Well, I think also, aside from that too, it's just let's think of Anakin's motivations here. Like he went against his vows of not being able to fall in love with someone. So I would say that regardless of if he chose certain paths, if something happened to Padme, he would do whatever he can in his power to avoid her from dying.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the two of you were leaning towards the side of it was inevitable, inevitable fate. Okay.
Yeah, I think it is inevitable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So too,
like Thanos.
With the prophecy and everything of him being the one to balance the Force, I think the arc, the Mortis arc, portrays it as if he's just supposed to control, what is it called, the sister and the brother, just stay there for all eternity and
replace the father.
That. But I think it could also be said that maybe he balanced the Force by existing, becoming Darth Vader, having Leia, and all this, everything that happened in the films. The Force was balanced in a different way through.
Yes.
What's interesting in the Mortis episode, happens in a lot of Clone Wars where they kind of screw things up and they leave and we just don't see what happens. Like the father's dead.
Yeah.
We don't know the ramifications of what that means for the rest of the timeline.
And the sister sacrificed herself for Ahsoka, right?
Yeah. They left things terribly. I don't know what that means, because that's a big chunk of things.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, when all that happened, I was like, how is everything not falling apart now?
Yeah.
This is
like they're balancing the entire universe.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not your introduction to Clone Wars.
It's deep. It's heavy stuff.
Yeah, it is. But see, I feel like this is the kind of stuff that folks who haven't watched Clone Wars or Rebels are looking for, right? Like this is the type of story. This is the type of storytelling that everyone is thirsting for, that these diehard fans. So I think it's definitely worth giving it a shot. And like you said, maybe that introduction to that will open up your perspective to seeing like, oh, there's a lot of good story writing in this. Maybe I should check out the rest of it. Maybe I should check out Rebels. I highly recommend it. That's why we're here to talk about it. Hopefully we convince some people to check it out.
There's like so much. I mean, we're running out of time, but man,
I know we
can so much that we didn't get to bring up, like humanizing like the clones. I think another interesting arc was Sabine's in Rebels, of how she created a weapon that destroyed like a lot of her people.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the whole Darksaber and Mandalorian arc and everything. But yeah, I wish we could talk more about it.
Yeah, I mean, also season 4, episode 7 through like 9 or something, they go on to Umbara, and just that's the one you're talking about. Just because clones, they're troops. That's all we see in Attack of the Clones. They're nothing. They're all based on Jango Fett. They don't mean anything. But then you see that how different each one of their personalities is. They all are completely different individuals. And this one Jedi Master is just showing you how he doesn't care. He views them as just like they're the separatist droids.
Yeah,
they're no different at all. And it just shows you what it means to be an individual and how you can define your personality traits just by showing clones. And that's some of the best animation they do too, and just depicting the action sequences.
Yeah. Even that world, that Umbara, I feel like is like such a nice, like, just like everything's beautiful. I think that they've made, like, then you get to see like different worlds and everything in the series.
Real quick before I get into any last points that anyone wants to bring up or touch on, we do have 4 minutes before we're going to switch over to Nerdy Curious. Let's just pick a winner for the prize, and then I'll let you guys leave off with the last final note. So let's pick a winner. If we could get a drum roll in the chat, please. R's in the chat. We do R's. Let's see. Yeah, cool. Thank you. And actually, the timer is still going, but it just ended right now. It should say that. Okay. Cool. Well, that was perfect timing. So let's pick a winner. Our winner is for, let me just remind you, this is for the Aglosoka.
Agloka.
Agloka.
And that's a Jorge exclusive, right? From the Jorge collection.
This is a Jorge exclusive.
And the yellow black matches too.
Oh yeah. I gotta throw like a little beanie on top of this pop. Here, sorry, let's pick a winner. Rad Cuban Gamer. Hey. Congratulations. Nice. Congratulations. Nice. Thank you, everyone, for entering. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. I'm going to let these guys leave us off with a final note, maybe wherever we can find you or anything else you want to touch on before we bounce out of here. Tim, I'll start off with you. Is there anything last thing that you want to say or where we can find you?
To jump on Dave's thing about humanizing clones, one of the arcs that I wanted to touch on would be, I forgot how to pronounce it, but Cut LeQuain. On the LeQuain farmstead, he's a clone that defected.
Oh,
had his family.
Yes.
We get to learn about him through Rex, who we already know and love. So we get to see him through that lens, and just begin to question about like the clones and what it really means that they're working for the Jedi, and do they really have free will and all this. And I just really love how complex Clone Wars gets, and it's definitely not a kid's show in that respect. And watch Clone Wars and Rebels. Yeah,
a lot of mature tones.
Where can we find you, Tim?
Yeah, Tim.
The handle here is my Insta. I'm not really too active on it though, but you can talk to me or whatever, and I'll.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Thank you, Tim. Trevor, how about you?
So be sure to watch Clone Wars and Rebels in any form they may come. But one arc I wanted to talk about was season 5, episodes 2 through 4. We meet Saw Gerrera for the first time, and Anakin literally trains someone who's going to rebel against him in Rogue One. And that's a fun juxtaposition. But what's really iconic about that is there's a sequence where Ahsoka's trying to save Saw's sister, and it's Star Wars. Good stuff always happens. And she actually fails, and she dies. Like, Ahsoka is not able to bring her back up onto the ledge, and she falls to her death. And they have a whole funeral and thing. And that's just not something that Star Wars does. It's a really big deal when people die and things mess up and they don't go the hero's way.
Awesome. Thank you, Trevor. And where can we find you?
And so I'm at MacTDS on all social, and then I'm at Secondary Heroes for our weekly podcast.
Yeah. Shout out to Secondary Heroes. Thank you. James, how about you?
I would agree with the rest of the crew, Tim and Dave and Trevor, that the Clone Wars the clones being humanized creates incredible story arcs, and really shout out to who's the actor, the Timora Morrison, for playing all these different clones and different voices and different personalities. It's amazing to see that happen, and it's not going to end. You know, they announced the next show is going to be Bad Batch. So now's your chance to jump into Clone Wars, get to know the clones, get to know the Bad Batch before the new show comes out. So should be get on that.
Awesome. Thank you. And then where can we find you again, James?
Oh, yeah. My Instagram is at James J. Navarro. But really, I'm part of a podcast called Hardly Heroes. So Hardly Heroes on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, except for Twitter, which is Hardly Heroes 1. And come hang out. We talk nerdy, everything movie, TV, and everything geek related. So yeah, come have fun.
Awesome. And I love your background.
Oh yes, awesome background.
Hold on. Big shout out to Toy Fusion Toys and Collectibles here in Sacramento, California. Hey. I'm here right now. I'm in the secret vault back room with all kinds of props and replicas and memorabilia. It's amazing. He's going to have a museum soon, so just a quick teaser about that. So it's amazing.
We'll have to check it out. Yeah, we'll have to check it out for sure. Thank you everyone in the chat for joining. This was a lot of fun. Thank you all of our guests. This was a great conversation. I mean, I learned a little bit. I hope everyone in the chat learned a little bit. I hope everyone in the chat is now convinced to go, if you haven't already, watch Clone Wars and Rebels. It is fantastic. So we're going to be sending things over to Nerdy Curious, to where they're going to be discussing, are they doing the child? Right? Did the child save Star Wars, I believe. The topic. So stick around. We're going to do a raid. It should be a lot of fun. Followed by that, at our last panel. What was our last panel, Trevor? Sorry, I'm leading on you. It's at 4:00. But what is the title of that one?
That one is What's Next for Star Wars.
There we go. And heroes. Topped off with a final watch party for the last movie. So
at 5 p.m.
Yes.
Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
I'm trying to find some cool stuff.
Yes.
When you guys
go big on that screen before we.
Yeah, real quick.
Waiting to raid for the raid timer.
Let's see here.
Sorry for moving fast.
Yeah.
Full on replica stuff happening.
A sneak peek. You got it here first.
So cool.
Fun stuff.
Look at that. Look, there's a Plo Koon just chilling.
Oh, snap.
Nice.
He was the Jedi Master that found Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, I'm going to send things over. So, okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks again.
See ya.